It amuses me how deterministic people can be when it comes to retrogrades or even certain tarot cards. People with, say, the Tower card, they'll see that pop up in a reading and their mind will automatically think the worst. And well, yeah, the tarot card indicates change, and it indicates that there might be some rocky change. It's not necessarily negative. Yeah, there's people who try to put a positive slant on things and try to paint the Ten of Swords as if it, like the sun's rising in the background, ignoring the fact that the man on the card is dead. There's going to be some pain with whatever that represents, no matter how it unfolds. But I think that retrogrades, more often than not, they get blown out of proportion. Yeah, the general advice you get is something that you should probably heed. With Mercury retrogrades, don't sign contracts, don't start new relationships, and so on. You don't necessarily want to avoid doing those things if you are in a position where you don't really have much of a choice. Like, people would probably tell you don't start a new job during Mercury retrograde, but if you're currently unemployed, you take what you can get. Just don't set your heart on this lasting for an indefinite period of time. What I find with retrogrades is that for the most part, they don't have a strong impact on me personally most of the time. The past couple of years have been exceptions, and the retrogrades currently in play are doozies. But I've also found that things that I've been working to manifest, things that I have been calling forth, there are many times where when the energy is direct, I hit roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, and all of a sudden it clears away when the retrograde hits. So this is one of the ways in which a retrograde can be an opportunity. You may not expect something to come in and last that ends up coming in at exactly that time. And it's why you always want to look at your personal chart and also take any advice you get in the context of your personal life. Because, yeah, generally speaking, don't start a relationship during Mercury retrograde, but you don't control when you meet the love of your life. Yeah, don't jump right into bed or propose during the retrograde if you can help it. But getting to know them during the Mercury retrograde, you give it a month. If things are still going great, you go from there. Where retrograde energies can be particularly useful, and this also applies to eclipse energies, is when it comes to areas of your life, areas that are often unconscious that get dragged to the surface through the retrograde energy, where you can use that influence to tear down obstacles, where you can use destructive energies to remove barriers to things you have been trying to bring forth or things you have been trying to change within yourself. In many ways, you can think of most retrogrades in some way being tied to the death card, where it's not literal death, but it is a shedding and a change within yourself and within your life. Now, before you do anything like that, you want to have a firm foundation in terms of good mental health. You want to have a good understanding of your limitations. You want to understand that in calling in the retrograde energies to work on your behalf, to dissolve obstacles, or to speed up certain death processes that you're in the midst of, it could make things substantially more intense. Keep in mind, any time that you add speed, you're also adding intensity. And those things don't scale linearly. You can add enough speed to make the process twice as fast, but it's 10 times as stressful on your psyche. But if you are in the right position, if you are mentally sound enough and creative enough to harness those energies, with the retrogrades we're under right now, this would be a great time to examine what has gotten in the way of communicating clearly. What has gotten in the way of using my voice in circumstances where I desperately wanted to. And with the retrograde in Jupiter, that's going to tie into long-standing patterns in your life. Jupiter expands everything. And that includes addictions, it includes rumination, it includes negative karma, which would just be another word for negative patterns. But in this case, think of it in terms of, okay, what have I done toward other people that hasn't served them and hasn't truly benefited me, in that it hasn't aligned with my soul and it hasn't built up healthier ways of relating to people. This is a great time to examine all of that. And if there's a need for, I don't like the term ego death, but it roughly corresponds to what I mean. If there's a need for an ego death in the situation that you're currently in, or the death of an aspect of your ego so you can shed an old way of being and bring forth something that's more authentic, more you, more joyful, less resistant, and more sincere, because it's not always about joy. Sometimes it's about genuine expressions of grief. So if anything's been blocking your grief, say false positivity will expand under a Jupiter retrograde too, and would be a prime example of something that needs to be torn away so you can get to what's underneath that, which is usually shame, grief, old emotions, and ties, like bonds that you haven't let go of, exes you haven't gotten over. This is a great time to let go of all of that and to welcome the dissolution of your old self so that what is truly authentic to you can emerge, be embodied, and to thrive. So once again, pace yourself, be compassionate toward yourself. Don't rush things, because rushing anything is more likely to cause more damage and set you back. But whenever you see these energies in play, no matter how intense they are, no matter how heavy they weigh on you, always think in terms of, how can this benefit me? Even if you don't harness it directly, think about how in the darkest of nights, the sun is going to rise again. What is in this energy that could bring about the dawn of a new day that I am excited to see? So that's all I've got for this video. I'm thinking now's a good time to probably start practicing, like, subscribe, all that. Website's down in the description. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.